has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free.
Okay, next question.
I'm a horse football coach right now.
You know, it got shoved up, shoved it up. It got shoved, right?
In any event, on to what we're all here for, I think. The preview of the Michigan State Spartans versus the Michigan Wolverines game. This will be played in Ann Arbor at 7:30 p.m. on Big Ten Network. Another night game. We've talked about that quite a bit. But Nick,
to cable.
Yeah. I know you talked about you were riding pretty high, and I think a lot of fans were. What's got you a little more nervous now as the game gets closer? Is it just nerves or what?
Well, I just think in general, it's insane to just think we're automatically going to win. I mean, this team does have four projected first-round picks. I don't know if all four of them will play, but Loveland is a great player. Was it Mason Graham? They're in disarray, and at home at night. I mean, we had it last week. It would be a decent time. That is a good time for a team to step up and show out. Yeah. But I still do think we're going in a good direction there. I do think we're going to win this game still, but I just think that I've come down to earth a bit more. People are talking so bad about Sharon Moore, everything there, everything's in disarray. It's starting to feel like a trap. I don't.
I agree. There's starting to be some clipboard material for Michigan. Some clipboard material for Michigan that I don't like. It's an important game to them just as much as it is to us. It's not their most important game of the season, but this win changes their season just as much as it does ours, and it's on the road. So I think there's reasons to be a little apprehensive about going there and just rolling over them. But Trav, you mentioned that you're feeling pretty good.
I feel pretty good, but we can't overlook them. I'll say that it's starting to feel like we're overlooking them and almost automatically counting it as a win, and we can't do that. I mean, yes, we have had a pretty good record in the Big House recently. Actually, I think we've won 5 of the last 8 in Ann Arbor. But they still have the defensive line that gets after the quarterback. Our offensive line, aside from last week, hasn't been great. So, I mean, they have 18 sacks. So Childs is going to be facing some pressure for sure. What gets me feeling good is I'm kind of excited to have the opportunity to knock a team that happens to be our rival, but also the defending champion off, just push them completely off the cliff when things are just going absolutely, the wrong direction so far over there. So that's where my excitement comes from. Other than the fact that we played pretty well last week, I hope for a repeat performance at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely a situation where you want to kick these guys while they're down. You do not want to let them back up, and I think that a quick start would be nice. Touchdowns in the red zone would be key. Yeah. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a great opportunity to, like you said, take down the defending champ, who also happens to be our biggest rival, and not overlooking them is absolutely key. If we come into this with an attitude our players should be confident that we're going to win. You shouldn't go into any game thinking you're going to lose, or why would you show up? But if you go into this with an attitude like the win is already earned and that, we've already taken care of business and that, we just are going to walk all over them with no resistance, that's not the right attitude, because like Nick said, there's good players on that team. Things haven't gone right this year so far, but they still have talented players and on both sides of the ball. They're going to struggle to pass the ball. There's no doubt about that. Do you guys
don't want to
have
pass
any?
The ball.
No, well, they can't, first of all. But do you guys have any thoughts on who they might be at quarterback? If you were in Sharon Moore's shoes, who you would go with? Trav, I'll start with you.
I honestly have no clue. I guess I'd go with Tuttle, considering that probably moved the ball best with him. But I mean, I also haven't watched a lot of Michigan games this year, and looking at the quarterback stats, I don't think it really matters who they start. Just
yeah. I thought it was Tuttle as well. I mean, I think he was like 20 for 32 last week, which isn't awful. 1 interception, no touchdowns, which is terrible. But Davis Warren has 6 interceptions. I don't think you can
2 touchdown
throw
passes.
him in there. Yeah.
That's
and then
ugly.
Orgy he started 2 games.
I mean, he's a running back playing quarterback. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and he has not done well.
I could see them doing something weird, like having both, like 2 of them out, like Tuttle and Orgy, like
sub packages and shit.
Yeah, I could see them use. I feel like once Warren got benched initially, they just weren't going to use him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you do have to remember, I'm pretty sure Tuttle's 0-2. Like he's the QB with the most amount of losses.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know. It just seems. God, I know they don't pass, but this is ridiculous. Like I don't
I'm
even
just
know.
Glad that's not our quarterback situation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely want to make them throw the ball. Do you think there's any chance that they would go with the freshman? Is it Jaden Davis?
I think that's it.
I mean, sure, there's a chance. The fans are calling for it. You might as well consider it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not inside Sharon Moore's brain. Quite frankly, I don't want to be.
Scary things.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the balls to do that, but that'd be interesting.
I do have sources, aka message board rumors, that said that Jaden Davis is shutting it down and not playing this year. But I also just don't think I could see them trying to throw us off and having us play and having them play him, but I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I don't think it matters that much. Like their quarterback doesn't make much of a difference. It's everything else is just what we got to shut down.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a tall order ish for Joe Rossi, in terms of it's a different offense if Orgy's in than it is if Tuttle's in. I mean, if Orgy's in, you're looking at a totally different game plan, I think. But I mean, you're going to have packages with him in regardless, I would think. So you got to have kind of a plan for him anyways. So hopefully they've got a good plan going forward.
Yeah, I just think results wise, it's not going to matter too much. It'll just matter strategically. Yeah.
So out of that, then, if you're not concerned about the quarterback position, are there positions you are concerned about, Trav?
Running back and tight end a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like Iowa with Caleb Johnson. The Mullings and Colston Loveland are probably the 2 best players on that Michigan offense. Loveland's obviously their biggest threat in the passing game, and I'll admit it, he's pretty damn good. And then Mullings is a little bit of a bigger running back, more of a power runner. But so it's going to be another big challenge for our run defense, which for the most part has been fantastic this year. We've covered that a couple times. And then, like I said a little bit before, I'm a little worried about their defensive line getting pressure on Childs and just wreaking havoc and not getting maybe less on Childs, but more on the run game. Even though they have a lot of sacks this year, the penetration overall could throw the timing off and on any play, run play, pass play. But our offense kind of needs to get the run game going to have success. And so, I mean, just that matchup with that defensive front that's so athletic and so good is kind of worrisome.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Definitely, the offensive line definitely needs to build off of what they did against Iowa. I don't know what got into them last week, but they need to build off that.
Yeah. Of all games to show up like that, it's Iowa.
Right.
Like, yeah. Do it again.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to need them. Nikki, anything on your end? Anything you're concerned about as we specifically on their team? I know you mentioned a little bit already, but anything to add on that?
So, honestly, one thing that that we kind of everybody forgot about because he hasn't been that great is Donovan Edwards, just because he's only really good on explosive runs and kind of like that one run that Caleb Johnson had last week. Like we got to contain him. We just have to limit explosives because Michigan's talented enough to where that's going to get you. Like, it's going to be a momentum game. Really, it's like I think there's a really good chance that first points win. Like it's a race. People say it's a race to 20. It might even be a race to 10, like or a race to 14. Like you get two in a row, stop. Like a good turnover there.
Yeah. Donovan Edwards is somebody to keep an eye on because he seems to play well in the big games. Obviously the national championship last year. But like you said, Nick, the explosive runs are definitely a concern, and you do not want the snowball effect. He's had a couple against Ohio State that, like, I can remember they kind of ended the game. It felt like obviously had some big ones in the national championship, like I mentioned. So we have got to, if when he's in the game, just limit the damage and contain him. Like he hasn't had a great year. There's nothing to point to that would make anyone concerned that hasn't really watched a ton of Michigan football. But just kind of knowing, his ability and what he has done in big games, definitely something that is keeping me a bit on edge.
Yeah, they've scored 16 touchdowns this year, and 10 of those have come from Mullings or Edwards.
Yeah,
so those are the big time.
Yeah,
it's not a surprise. I mean, they're a run first team by definition, and that's where it starts. Yeah,
I mean, it's just it's one of those games of just we could come in as 20-point favorites, and I'd just be so nervous. Like my asshole is this tight. You can't see because I'm making a fist, but it's this tight right now. Like I was kind of like you, Nikki. Like I woke up Sunday, I was like, we are not losing to Michigan, and the line kept moving. I was like, oh my gosh, we're not losing to Michigan for sure. But now the lines move so much, I'm worried that there's so much public money on us that I'm like, oh god, I'm starting to get a little nervous about that.
I agree. It feels like a trap almost. Like
yeah.
One thing though is that like we're talking, I feel like it's more the fan base and like the public are overlooking Michigan. Like I do think Jonathan Smith's gonna have the team ready to go.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Every game we've been ready to play. I mean, even if we were a little rusty against Florida Atlantic, like didn't win every game. I mean, first half Ohio State we didn't play horribly. Like we will be ready to go, I think. Man.
So with that, it's Jonathan Smith's first game in this rivalry, but both coaches' first game as head coaches in the rivalry. But Jonathan Smith's first taste really of it. It doesn't sound like you're too concerned, Nikki, about his inexperience in the rivalry.
I actually had a question for you, because I do know that's a little bit of something for you. So, on his radio show today, right before he recorded, he said he might use the iPads on the sideline Saturday to peek in on Game 2 of the Dodgers-Yankees series. I think that's a joke, but I mean he's downplaying it a little bit. That's one of those. That's one of those. Like if we're down at any point, I'm going to be really thinking about that.
I like to think he's joking. I also can understand as someone who's been at big events or a wedding or something that you have the same night as your team playing in a big event. I get the itch to check out a score. Hopefully there's just someone in his ear that will let him know the score. I don't think we need to be looking at iPads. Really, the only focus should be on Michigan.
Use one of the interns. Come on.
Right. Yeah. That's, I was looking for something like, oh, yeah, I hate those guys. Like, that's really all I want. I don't need to hear about him checking out Dodger scores. I can appreciate that he's a Dodgers fan and it's a big thing, but, let's keep the focus on beating the Wolverines.
Yeah, I think he's going about it business as usual, or I like to think he's going about it with business as usual, and then just like letting the guys that have experience in the rivalry handle that part of it.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I like the whole idea of business as usual, but like in reality, like this is not just
it's not. But I mean, I think he's trying to put on a calm front, a little bit of maturity or whatever, but.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of let the guys loose when they hit the field.
Look,
that's fair.
Absolute worst case scenario, he's going business as usual. Like I don't think he's overlooking anything. So I mean, and he doesn't get it. But I can
that's
promise
my point.
you,
yeah,
I can promise you by the end of the night, Saturday, he's not going to like Michigan. I mean, if he goes out, if he leaves Michigan thinking, "Oh yeah, those are decent guys," like I am worried about his character. I'm worried about his family. I'm worried about like his children. Like I'm worried about the people around him. I'm worried about a lot of things. If he's leaving there thinking like, "Oh, they're not that bad," like he will hate Michigan. Don't you?
I want a D'Antonio type soundbite from him at the end, or a Dino Cicerelli after the Avs game. I can't believe I shook his fucking hand. That type of shit.
Yeah, that would be nice. See, now that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Trev, you mentioned the guys in the locker room that have had experience in this rivalry. There's not a ton of players on the roster that have had experience with Michigan. Obviously, like there's guys that got their first taste last year. Think about like Jordan Hall, Nate Carter. But when you look down the roster, there's really only 5 guys that have had we're all part of the 2021 victory. That's Cal Holiday, Angelo Gross, Montori Foster, Chuck Brantley, and Maverick Hansen. Maverick Hansen all the way back to 2019. So it's not really a ton of guys in the locker room that have had experience with the rivalry either.
Yeah, I guess I was talking about like within the program in general, like even with the coaching staff and the athletic staff and all that. Like you have Demetrius Martin, who played in the rivalry. You have Courtney Hawkins, who played in the rivalry and has now coached in the rivalry. So those are the kinds of guys that would put instill the attitude and the culture of beating your rival and how much and put in an understanding of how much we hate those guys and how important this game is into the locker room. Yeah, you're right.
I need a player to say something stupid on their team, like Sharon. Like, come on.
I know.
Give us the juice.
Yeah.
Give us the I don't care.
I've been waiting for it too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a couple days left. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nothing
too crazy's happened this week that I can tell.
I know it's been kind of a quiet
stuff, but
week.
Not crazy. Yeah.
Except
for that one guy that Homburg pointed out on the message board who said, "Can we stop calling it hate week?" Good God.
Yeah, I really, you know what? Like, it's our rival. Like, we wake up every day and we hate them. Like I don't really understand. Like, why are we trying to downplay a rivalry? Like, these are 2 teams that literally one team beat the crap out of the other team in the tunnel a couple years ago. Like, this is not friendly. This is an ugly rivalry, and I think people just need to let it be that.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, why are you letting a word bother you so much? It's like,
yeah. I mean, you're allowed to hate things, especially rival teams, especially just spineless, disgusting, horrible University of Michigan. Like they were put on this planet to be hated. Oh,
yeah,
disgusts me.
Yeah, I feel like normally I have so much more to say about like how much I hate them, but it's just been there's not a ton of back and forth going on. Both teams. I mean, Michigan State's trending in the right direction. Michigan's kind of limping, but it'll all be there Saturday.
I hate how defeatist the Michigan fans are. It's like, okay, you guys are 4-3. You're not like 1-5.
Right. Like your season's not totally over.
And their excuses are going to start flying if they lose that game. Oh, we weren't really trying. Oh, we gave up on the season. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that's so true.
I would love.
That. I mean, we could do a whole segment on Michigan excuses if we win. So easily.
I need just after a win, just Will Johnson. Oh, Nick Marsh. Oh no, who's that? Like just
the guy who went for 240 and 3 touchdowns on you.
Yeah, no, I never heard.
Hey, that would be great, but no. Hey, back to reality a little bit.
Yeah, I love when they slip up and do things like that. That's what makes beating them so much fun. Is that they do things like that. But it's been since 2021 since we beat them. I know it's only 2 years, 2 games.
Yeah.
But it feels like
a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, We were at that game, or Nikki and I were.
Yeah. That was awesome. Oh, I do have one prediction. I have one prediction. Actually, I have like 5 predictions, but here's one that I think you guys are going to like. So I think, obviously, last week there was a lot of Jonathan Kim was a weapon. He solidified himself as super, super legit. I think this week we are going to do a fake field goal.
Wow.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. Yeah.
I
Channeling
like that.
D'Antonio and get a little bold.
I think there's going to be a fake field goal or a fake trick play of some sort that's above a flea flicker fake, but like an actual, like not as common fake, just something to get the boys going.
Is it gonna be like Little Giants, or are you gonna be like when they flipped it over the shoulder to Coughlin?
Oof. I don't know. What if it's Jonathan Kim running in?
It would require a lot of blocking.
action.
Yeah.
One issue too is that, I mean, they do have 2 really good running backs, and the team that rushes does tend to win.
Yeah,
that's right. I saw that. Yeah. Team with the most rushing yards tends to win. I saw that.
Yeah, so
that's all they're gonna do. Yeah.
Well, Michigan State, we've been good at stopping the run. So if we can stop that guy from Iowa, we can. I think we can stop.
Yeah.
There are 2 guys, but their offensive line probably not as good as Iowa either. So, what else you got, Nikki?
There's going to be some there's going to be some bullshit in this game too.
Of course.
There's going to be something.
The first time there's a call that's even close to questionable that goes against Michigan State, the fix will be in.
That head ref probably lives in Ann Arbor, if we're being honest. I haven't even looked at what the officiating crew is, but somebody's got to live in Ann Arbor. That's the only way those are.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be the classic, like there will be a bad call in our favor, like in the second quarter, and if we win, that's the reason we won.
Yeah.
It was raining too hard.
Excuses. I was just going to say, I was just checking the weather for Ann Arbor, hoping for some rain, but it's going to be sunny.
The rain might help them a bit. I don't know.
It only rained when we had the ball.
Yeah, nothing like the excuses that come out of there after a loss.
The things they do amuse me.
A lot of the things they do amuse me. Yeah.
It's going to be a game that defines these guys, at least for now. It always defines the season. Like, Aiden Childs throws bad, does a bad game, we lose. We're gonna always think about this as part. That is like a major part of the season. Like he couldn't get that done.
Yep, and even bigger picture. I mean, for Jonathan Smith, D'Antonio, he accomplished a lot of other things, but he made his career basically built off beating Michigan. I mean, that was his calling card, I guess I'll say. I mean, that was, he did not make any ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was what he was there to do, and he wanted to accomplish every year. And he was not shy about his hatred for Michigan either. But like, this will be if Jonathan Smith gets a win in this game, Mel Tucker got a $95 million contract extension for beating Michigan, basically. So this is Michigan State coaches. A lot of their success is for better or for worse, or right or wrong, it's viewed on this game. So I mean, it's definitely a big one.
And it hits the over on the win total for the season.
Yeah,
that's true.
And
that is true.
1 win away from bowl eligibility, and puts 9-3 on the table.
Yes.
And there are a lot of, I wouldn't call it implications, but all the other teams that are, I think we're 2-2. All the other 2-2 teams are playing
each other.
Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. So if we win and they lose, like we're in like the top third of the Big Ten ranking wise.
That would be nice too. That would be nice. All right, keys to victory. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Got to what I was going to get to. Go ahead.
Keys to victory. Nikki, I'll start with you.
I mean, stop the explosives. Just keep them limited, play a clean game, and just Man, let Nick Marsh and Childs cook. That's some magic. That's some magic, man.
Yeah, a great clean game. No silly penalties. Do not let the refs dictate this game. Do not let them play a role in how this game finishes. Trav, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, mine were pretty much the same thing. You stop the run, you make them play behind the chains on offense because they don't have an offense. I mean, they'll have some explosive plays, but they don't have an offense that wants to play off pace or that excels in playing off pace. And then for us, the exact opposite: stay ahead of the chains, avoid the pass, avoid the negative plays, get a run game going. Whichever side, like we talked about, running game is huge in this game every year. So whichever side gets the ball going on the ground the best is probably going to have the best chance to pull this one out.
Yep. I agree with all that. Big thing for me is focus and execute. I mean, I think last week you really saw what a team that comes in focused and executes on a game plan, how successful they can be versus a team that many thought were better than us. Looking at this, matchup here, ESPN, just like Iowa predicts, matchup predictor has Michigan basically a 70% chance, Michigan at 30%, which I just don't get how that happens when the spread is 3.5, but whatever. We've got the advantage. Yeah, right. We've got the advantage at quarterback. They probably got a slight edge at running back, but receiving wise, they've got Loveland, we've got Marsh. Childs distributed the ball very well last week. I thought, Marsh had 113 over 8 receptions. Foster had 5 receptions for 100 yards. I think that's another, like Nick, you kind of pointed to it. Let Marsh and Childs cook. Let Childs distributing the ball as long as he's distributing it to our team. I think if we could be effective in the passing game, that's going to open up the running game, and obviously vice versa. So we talked about the offensive line building off that performance last week and how important the running game is in this matchup. But you have to stay focused and execute on the game plan. You can't come in and let the rivalry be too much. I talked about how I don't love that anyone would act like it's just another game, but you don't want to make the rivalry bigger than the game itself. So we have to stay focused and have to execute, stop the run, stay physical, get pressure on the passer when they do pass, and make them uncomfortable because their quarterbacks will turn the ball over. But yeah, and then the no turnovers. We have to win the turnover battle. I think cannot turn the ball over, and make our defense keep bailing us out, especially on the short side of the field. But I thought Charles did pretty well last week in that. So, yeah. Anything else? Agreed. Anything else? I feel like, baby. Yeah. I mean, this is. I'm nervous. But I also can't wait. I'm just so excited for the game. I mean, it's the last 2 years, it's gonna kind of going into it felt like we didn't really have any kind of chance. So it's nice to be back in the seat where we do.
Let me give you one last prediction that I have.
Please.
I think that the MVP, most valuable player of this game, will be on the defense, senior Cal Halladay. I think this is going to be a legacy. This is going to, years down the line, this will be the game. This and the Peach Bowl will be the games you remember him for.
Wow. Okay. I mean, he did 26 tackles, 26 career tackles versus Michigan. He had a ton in last year's game. I could see that. I mean, if he could force a fumble, get a sack or two. We know he's probably not going to get an interception, but maybe he will. He had one in the Peach Bowl, so you never know.
He did.
Yeah. Trev, Nikki's given us some predictions. Do you have any prediction?
I didn't. But you know what? I think that this is going to be a passing game breakout for us. I'll go there. We had a couple guys play very well last week. Why not build off of it? Get the tight ends going. Get Jack Velling breakout game. I mean, he already broke out last year, but it's time for a Spartan breakout. So yeah, I'll go there.
I agree. I like that. I don't really have anything. I think something weird's going to happen, though. That's all I can say.
Always
I don't know
does.
what.
Yeah.
I don't know what it will be, but something weird's going to happen.
There's going to be some trouble somewhere.